In the headlines, Nancy Charles gets fired up in the hot seat as she tries to get the government's point of view across.
Unfortunately, it took us quite a bit of time to get the funding for it, but we were finally able to get the approval from the Taiwanese to begin the construction of the new wing and to complete the hospital.
The National Youth Council takes a stand on the Antripo Secondary School and urges more rehabilitation of schools across the island. And the Schwizel MP takes audiences by storm as he joins the Journée Creole dance craze. Bradley Kabaitat. Stay tuned.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Monday, the 28th of October 2019. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We're on Flow, channel 117, also being simulcast on Kiss FM. You can also watch via our website. It's www.caribbeanhottv.com or on our free Caribbean Hot FM mobile app. I'm lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. Beausejour, Vieux-Fort, and Schwizel. Hot 7 TV had all three locations covered for Journée Creole, and we will get into all things Creole in just a bit. But first, it's the interview that everyone is talking about. The Director of Implementation in the Office of the Prime Minister, Nancy Charles, was in the hot seat on Saturday, facing the tough questions on what really are the government's intentions about the DSH project. Charles was questioned about concerns regarding an influx of Chinese, the removal of the abattoir, and concerns by citizens that horses are taking precedence over the rehabilitation of St. Jude Hospital.
While the St. Lucia government gets set to giddy up on National Day, there are still so many qualms and questions surrounding the project. Chief among these questions is why the government is so heavily focused on the horse racing track as opposed to the St. Jude reconstruction project. As host Trisha Lionel pointed out in her interview with Nancy Charles, the Director of Implementation in the Office of the Prime Minister, social media has been abuzz with hashtags stating horses over hospitals. Nancy Charles began with what has become the common response that the former SLP government was the one that did not complete the hospital in its tenure, saddling the UWP government with an unfinished project. But then perhaps a more candid moment where Nancy Charles took responsibility for the failure to deliver, admitting that the UWP government needed to have done more to deliver on the St. Jude reconstruction project.
Unfortunately, it took us quite a bit of time to get the funding for it, but we were finally able to get the approval from the Taiwanese to begin the construction of the new wing and to complete the hospital. I have said personally, I'm from the South, and if there is one thing I can hold my government responsible for, is that have we put enough time, effort, and ensure that we do and push as much as possible to complete the hospital? We have been lacking on that. And so we can take blame and responsibility for not putting as much perhaps as we should have.
Charles went on to assure that construction has begun on the new wing at the St. Jude site and that the construction company has indicated an 18-month timeline for the construction phase to be over. But she would not give a definitive timeline for the actual opening of the facility.
We promise and we guarantee the people of the South that St. Jude's will be reopened, and
when?
If St. Jude's will be reopened in a timely manner, and that is what
and why has the government been so averse to putting a date?
The previous administration gave 5 dates for opening the hospital, and none of them were practical. For us as an administration, we will not give a date.
And as for the thoroughbred horses with millions of dollars moving in across the field from St. Jude, Charles says people should not muddy the issues. She says to lump the two together, that is the horse racing track and the St. Jude Hospital, is unfair.
St. Lucians, I want you to understand that government has no funds invested in the racetrack, in the construction of the racetrack. No, government has no say in how the investor chooses to invest his funds, except that if we agree that we will sell you or lease you lands at a particular rate, and you've given us a construction timeline, you've given the government a timeline of what you're going to put in there. Once you have your DCA approval, as an investor, you are free to go ahead and build according to what has been agreed and approved on.
So in essence, come December, when the horses are galloping across the way amid fanfare and celebrations, if you are at St. Jude Hospital, rest assured that your taxpayer dollars did not fund that project. Could that bring some measure of solace to patients and staff? It's left to be seen.
Another hot topic was the issue of money. Who is paying for the DSH horse racing project, and who paid for the purchase and transporting of the thoroughbred horses brought to St. Lucia? Let us begin with whether the government is paying the investor to invest through the Citizenship by Investment program, as has been stated by critics in the past. There was a statement made by Prime Minister Alan Shastney indicating that the investor, Teoa King, would be reimbursed through the Citizenship by Investment program, CIP. Director of Implementation, Nancy Charles, says he misspoke and that no CIP agreement has been made.
I had to clarify with the Prime Minister as well. You had to clarify with the Prime Minister? I had to clarify with the Prime Minister because a lot of persons kept on saying that whilst we say CIP has not paid for the project, the Prime Minister said that it is the intention of CIP to reimburse the investor. It is the intention to reimburse the investor through the CIP funds for the project. And so I had to clarify with the Prime Minister what exactly he was mistaken then? Yes. And mistaken because these were discussions that the Prime Minister was having during the negotiations with the investor with reference to the possibility of the CIP project and being reimbursed, and so that the racetrack eventually becomes that of St. Lucia. To date, there has not been an agreement on this.
Charles says while this is not on the table right now, she cannot speak to whether refunding the investor through CIP will eventually be on the table. Nonetheless, she says the investor is moving full steam ahead with the horse racing track. Now, onto the thoroughbreds brought into the island and the resulting controversy. In a previous press conference, the government stated categorically that there was no financial involvement on its part. However, Charles laments that in some circles, the message is still not sinking in.
In St. Lucia, people like the row. People like the thing that is going to make them talk. You didn't hear they say they do that? And so forth. And you said, no, we never did this. But people continue still to perpetuate, even if the government has come out and said, we've not done this, we've not said this, this is not what we meant, or this is not what said. People still continue to spin and to say the truth. So up to yesterday, for example, I heard somebody call one of the talk shows to say that the government spent money to buy horses and they don't have no document to show, so they lie. If a private investor, and I asked somebody that question, they said to me, well, show the documents as to who owned the horses. I said, well, I can't, because the documents don't belong to me.
She challenged those still questioning whether the government purchased horses to bring forth documentation or facts, or accept what she says is the truth of the matter. Now, we will have a repeat of that hot seat episode on Wednesday. So if you missed it on Saturday, you have another chance to catch it on Wednesday. Trust me, it's fiery. The situation at the Anthropo Secondary School as it relates to health and safety has gotten the attention of the St. Lucia National Youth Council. On Monday, the NYC spoke out on the matter at a press conference on the school's grounds. The organization has also condemned what it says was the suppression of a student protest relating to the unsuitable conditions at the school.
An unacceptable situation at way too many schools on island. That is the view of the Public Relations Officer of the St. Lucia National Youth Council on the situation at the Anthropo Secondary School, which led to the walkout of teachers and the closure of the school by the Ministry of Education. Issues of mold infestation and other infrastructural issues have made the school an unsafe environment.
Well, the St. Lucia National Youth Council would like to express concern mainly towards the infrastructural damage and issues that is being faced by schools across the island. You know, this is merely 2 months after a $10 million budget has been spent on general school infrastructure repairs over the summer vacation. Of course, it's been said that this is not enough, but we have to also remember to be frugal in the spending of these funds, these limited funds, so that we can have the maximum output. So of course, if we treat the money as if we can really accomplish these tasks that we are given, then we can certainly see a bit more progress. But particularly that it is only 2 months after and we are still seeing school has to be closed and students inconvenience. Of course, the health implications that we see from the particular situation of the mold. And of course, these things should have been checked over the summer vacation.
The NYC has also spoken out strongly about students' right to protest. The NYC PRO says these are the same young people who will be asked to speak out on human rights matters as adults.
We will particularly look into the situation where the students who decided to protest last week, Wednesday, the vice principal attempted to silence them in their protest, and this is a direct breach of the students' rights. Of course, this is part of the Education Act of 1999, and in Article 19, subsection 1, we look at students' rights to advocate, to protest. As long as they do not infringe on anybody else's human rights, they have the right to protest.
The National Youth Council has called on the Ministry of Education to move with alacrity to address the infrastructural and health and safety issues being faced by students in schools across the island.
Host Journée Creole, Choiseul MP Bradley Felix is the talk of social media. A video of the MP doing the popular Baipat dance has gone viral. Now, if you don't know what the Baipat dance is, then you must not have been in St. Lucia for the past month. Felix, sporting his signature ponytail, graced the stage at the Lafayette playing field venue. The audience was thrilled by his moves, and many have commended the MP for making sure that Choiseul hosted Journée Creole, even though it was not under the auspices of the Folk Research Center FRC. So, let's let the good times roll with that viral video of Choiseul Salzibus MP Bradley Felix. I've seen many versions of that dance, and this one looks quite special. And now, on a more serious note, we spoke to the MP about the overall success of Choiseul Journée Creole 2019.
Issue. On seul problème nous ni actuellement, c'est nous pas ni place pour mettre moun. Nous pas ni place pour mettre machine. Chimère just block machine pas aller devant, il pas aller derrière. So même si c'est police là, elle travaille red, mais quantité de monde qui descend choisir, nous réunit un problème avec trafic là. So nous allons regarder pour toute qualité place pour moun parc, mais ici il y a un problème. Mais ça il a fait nous c'est un chaque monde vient supporter nous ici ça qui fait tout ces monde là savent c'est choisir qui place là la Journée Creole pour eux.
We will have more on Choiseul's Journée Creole activities in a bit. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. When we return, all roads lead to Journée Creole venues, from Beau Séjour to Vieux Fort to the traffic gridlock to the wildly popular Choiseul venue. Stay with us.